Mr. Girish Nair is a second-generation entrepreneur and the proprietor of Hygienic Pest Control. He is a graduate in chemistry and has completed his master's in business from University of Cardiff, Wales, United Kingdom. Previous jobs, he was a marketing manager for retail giants Primark and later for Walmart. He came back to India in 2012 to join his family business. Hygienic Pest Control is 40 years old pest control company which specializes in pest controlling, bird control and expert fumigation services and has presence all over South India and Maharashtra. Hygienic Pest Control does property management for organizations like Hindustan Computers Limited, ISRO, BEL, HAL, DRDO, NMDC, Primal Group, Department of Atomic Energy, Chennai, Petroleum Corporations, and many more. Mr. Girish Nair is also the current elected General Secretary for Indian Pest Control Association, a 55-year-old association that governs the standards and procedures in the pest control industry. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So, thank you for that introduction. I'll start with takeover handover, basically what we are here for. So, a lot of important aspects, very exciting times for most of y'all who are here. Basically, the project is ready, the OC is received, you all have moved in, lot of you are come to a new locality, new neighbors, you are excited with all that aspects, and then immediately you're pushed on to form an association. Now, when you form an association, that's when all the legalities, the documentation, everything comes into picture. But there are also minor aspects like pest problems which prevail in apartment complexes, which you inherit from the builder because the correct maintenance services are not taken care during the construction stage as well as later as well. So, so my presentation will run around to start with basics of pest control, which you all can take on board for your own apartment associations. Point number 2 will be the major pests affecting the apartment associations. Third point is selecting a vendor for your pest control. Let it be during takeover or even your existing apartment complexes. And lastly, the onus or responsibility of each and everyone in the association. So let it be an estate manager, let it be the resident, let it be the pest control professionals. So let's come to the basics first. Let us understand about integrated pest management. So integrated pest management is defined as a sustainable approach of management of pest by combination of biological, mechanical and chemical tools in a way to minimize economic, health and environmental risk. Now the very important aspect is it is not a specific chemical tool which you are using. In generic, we understand as pest control as somebody comes, does a chemical treatment, something he applies and goes off. Not really. Let me give you an example of a biological treatment. Suppose, simple example, you have rodents around. To control that, you can have cats who will take care of the rodents, or even dogs who can take care of the rodents. You have those bugs next to your tube light in the evening, which running around. A lizard takes care of the same thing. But those are biological methods which we use. Next, coming to mechanical, bait stations or cages, rodent cages, have been used for the taking care of rodents. So that is a mechanical treatment. Lastly, chemical treatment also, like we spray or gel application are also chemical treatments for the pest control. But I would like to highlight here is chemical is one of the techniques, not just the only technique. So it is an integrated pest solution which you are looking at. So coming to the next very important aspect is 4D principle. Now if you look at it, and that is in a specific order, the first D stands for deny entry. If you don't have a problem, you don't need a pest control solution. You don't have complaints, you don't have pests, don't need to do it. But then how do you arrest it at the first place? Deny entry. To give you a simple example, because at the state where you are moving into a new apartment, many times you all are getting your interiors done. When you get your interior done, you're doing expensive furniture, flooring, you're doing POP. Let me give you an example of a POP work which you have done, an expensive POP, but then there are openings all over the place. What do you think over a period of time will happen? There will be rodents or rats running around, which can affect and then they breed inside, they die, it smells a foul smell. The same solution, very simple solution is, if you close it from 4 sides, there is no access to it. So if you can control the entry access, automatically your problem of pest reduces. Next, second is deny food. Obviously the pests are coming inside, let it be cockroaches, let it be rodents, let it be pigeons, they are coming for food. So that needs to be addressed. Third is shelter. You have duct areas, you have electrical rooms wherein access is less, people don't move there. So then it leads to a breeding place for rats, cockroaches. Reduce that totally. And lastly, the last option is destroy. So again, bringing to basics is, destroy is the last option. If you control it in the first place by entry, you don't have to deal with all these pests. Okay, major pest control concerns for RWA, Residential Welfare Associations. CRM, most of the MBA graduates will know customer relationship management, but basically for our industry is cockroaches, rodents and mosquitoes which we deal with. Apartment association, this is the major concerns we have. And these are the major pests which affects apartments. Now I'm going to run it through slightly quickly because these are basics, just for your information. Types of cockroaches, the Germans and Americans don't leave us. They are there in our kitchen as well. So your German cockroaches are where the ones which are in the sink, into your cabinets, your cupboards. They affecting, that is the, sorry, German cockroaches. The American ones are in the gutters, the nalas, your drain pipes, all are American cockroaches. Brown branded, we don't have, you do get it, but not very much. Oriental is not there in Bangalore as such. Now, when you come to an inspection, when you're taking over from the apartment, or you can inspect your own residences, you need to inspect the kitchen areas. Why? Obviously, food access there. Second, these corners of false ceilings where there will be dampness. Dampness leads to pests around. So again, there, unused areas. Now coming to shafts, lockers, drains. Now drains are there everywhere. Drains is a regular problem in apartment complexes. What is a very simple solution? You have something called a jali. You put a basic jali there and that solves the problem. You don't need to spray there. If you can control the access which is coming from there, it is already, your problem is solved. Now coming to the chemical treatments you have for that. Now you have chemical treatment, gel application, spray treatment. You have come across, everyone knows pest control what it is. But then there are also non-chemical treatments. It's not that every team. So you are, let's say you are dealing with food processing units. Now in an apartment association, there is no food processing unit, but there can be a cafe. You might have a cafe there. What will you address it by? You will address it by, you can do it vacuuming, glue pad trapping, mask trapping. These are the treatments you can do so that the problem is solved. Again comes to understanding is that you don't always use to use chemical for a treatment. Application techniques. Sealing of entry points. If you see the first picture, there is an entry point on the top. There's an entry point. You just fill it with silicone, the access is closed. Proper storage and sanitation practices, right placement of glue pads as per the treatment which is required, effective monitoring process. Unfortunately, it is our industry to blame. Many of them just do the treatment. There is monitoring process. There is something called as catchment record trend analysis. You see the trend over a period of 6 months, 1 year. What is the difference? If there is a peak, what is the reason? Is it there is a change in weather? There's a construction site which has come close by, there is mosquitoes increased. So there can be multiple reasons for it. But you can evaluate it, what is the problem, and find a solution for it. Coming to the next, yeah, the brainy guys, the rats, never leave us and go. I had one madam complain as well, specifically what is the solution for rats. There are solutions for rats. They are mildly more tedious. It is not a one-time job, it's an ongoing process. We have to take care of their property as you would do for any other maintenance, STP, WTP, whatever. You have to do a regular maintenance for these. So the common rats are house rat, roof rat, Norway rats, and then bandicoots. Bandicoots are the bigger ones. Now if you are to inspect and you have an apartment complex where is huge amount of garden area, you have burrows. That needs to be constantly monitored. Your garbage. Garbage is a huge problem because most of the time I have inspected apartment complex, the garbage dumping is somewhere close to the parking or the residence is the apartment. That leads to your car wires being cut, your apartment getting infested by rodents. That's the simple reason. If you move it away from that place if possible, that would be the ideal solution for it. Open drains again needs to be covered. Now, let us look at the middle picture on the top, proofing and preventive measures. Let us example, this is Aditya Rao's STP room, and that is so much of opening there. What do you think, rats, what is going to come out of it? Rats are going to come out of it. You have to control it by, so need not be a chemical treatment, that is a civil work which needs to be incorporated. So these are, coming to the next one, the bottom left, is a common sight in all apartment buildings. Electrical shaft, there is wires moving out, rodents are moving from the ground floor to the 25th floor. So what is the simple solution for it? Thermocol board. Just cut it according to the site, place it there, there's no movement of rodents. Coming to non-chemical tools, you have glue pad, rat cages, rat traps. Based on the problem, based on the situation, based on the location, you have to adapt to the apt solutions. Now the killer ones, obviously the mosquitoes. Maximum deaths anywhere. The 3 types of mosquitoes available in India and especially in Bangalore: Culex, Anopheles, and Aedes. Anopheles is malaria, which causes malaria. Aedes is chikungunya as well as dengue. Now, many people are not aware of the first type of treatment, that is larviciding treatment. Most of them are aware of something one aya koi to smoke dala chala gaya. What is that smoke? That is a space tray. But then these all are born from an egg and a larvae, which is born in a pond or a water body. So that can be treated by insect regulators. So these are like example, you have your apartment complex and the front you have a fountain. Excellent, water body looks nice. But who will take care of the mosquito breeding which happens? So that needs to be addressed. That should be monitored on a regular basis. If there is a breeding, there should be a solution for it to be addressed to. So that is, you can, there is a chemical called Temifos which you use for ponds to address these larvae. Adult treatment can be mosquito fogging, which you have seen, or thermal or cold fogging, that is called as. For inside the apartment complexes, inside your apartments, there's something called as indoor residual spray. It's a thorough spraying on the wall, mosquito comes and sits on it, it comes in contact with the chemical, it dies. Inspection for larvicide treatment. Now, as an apartment association member or a BOM member for your apartment, you have the responsibility within your 4 walls, your compound wall. But then that doesn't mean you can coordinate with BBMP, and issues like this, sewage water stagnation, rainwater stagnation, open drains, these needs to be monitored, because this will lead to mosquito breeding and in turn will affect your children, your parents who are staying in the apartment there. Inside the apartment, again, another problem is these water stagnation because of small buckets, small containers everywhere. Mosquito will be breeding there. This needs to be monitored on a regular basis. Inspection point for adult mosquito treatment. Now, here for adult mosquito, if you look at your backyards, apartment complexes, backyards, your dark corners of your houses, you never know, you don't see, but there are mosquitoes which are sitting there, breeding there. So that needs to be monitored. And the last picture is very important nowadays. Lot of under construction sites which have stopped doing any project. They are all breeding grounds. Needs to be monitored. That can be addressed. It is BBMP's responsibility to help you out there. Okay, so coming to, because in apartment association, we are now mainly concentrating on space sprays. There are 2 types of treatments, thermal and cold fogging. Thermal fogging is basically you use a fogging machine, you use diesel and a chemical. A white smoke comes, it kills the flying adult mosquito, that's it. The second one is cold fogging. It is the latest technology product. You use a misting machine, use it with water. Now, if somebody asks me what is recommended, I would always say go for a cold fogging. Cold fogging, there is no smoke, but the droplet size are so small that it sits on your leaves, on your parapets, on your walls. When the mosquito comes and sits in close to that, it dies. It is more effective, it stays for longer. Thermal fogging is sort of an eye wash for me, because what happens is ultimately you fog on that moment and whatever adult mosquito is there, that will die. If it's an open area, there is wind, it will go off, that's it, no use. These are another traps, mainly CO2 based. Mosquito comes and bites us because they can sense CO2 from our body. So these are devices which are available in the market, CO2 generators which emits CO2, and or a UV light, and it attracts the mosquito and then it kills it inside. Another minor pests which we always address in our apartments, the other three were the major ones. The minor ones are always there is lizards, regular problem in apartment complexes. 9 times out of 10, it is a tree adjoining a building. You trim it, there will be a reduction of lizards there. That is one of the common reasons there. Flies, you have a dumping area. There is maggots breeding, flies breeding. You need to address that. You need to do a appropriate spraying, and that can be addressed. Bed bugs, more of an independent resident problem than an apartment problem. But do you know that most of the time it leads through the security room, where your Swiggy, parcel, everything comes in, and then it gets moved to your house, and you get affected by bed bugs. Pigeons in Bangalore especially is no more a minor pest, is a major pest. Pigeons, a lot of people are asthmatic. They have problem with pigeon droppings, pigeon feathers, that can be addressed by pigeon netting. There's something called as HTP, high density polyethylene netting, which we do, and that covers the netting for your balcony or a window and restricts the pigeons to come inside. Or spikes also we can look at. Now coming to termites, do you know that all construction companies during their construction stage have to do a chemical treatment for the soil called as pre-construction anti-termite treatment. That after the treatment, if the building has 5 years guarantee, the builder has to provide you 10 years guarantee against termites. That is as per IS code, IS 6313 part 2. They are supposed to do this treatment and give you the certificate during handover. So that safeguards you from termite attacks in your building. And wood borers, mainly due to plywood which is coming in, not much affecting resident association. Now coming to selection of pest control agencies. Why is it important? In generic, if you ask me, how do you select a pest control agencies? Two things. Many a times, it is the facility management who's handling it. I don't know. We don't know what is he doing. He does comes something and goes. Second is, as Aditya Rao said, L2, L1. L1 is given, somebody quotes something, we don't know what he comes and doesn't goes. So there are a couple of cases I would like to highlight here. It's not very old. It's within the last 2 years. 8-year-old girl dies after pesticide fumes in Bangalore. This is in Vasant Nagar. Date August 2022. Fumigated in the house. Next, 42-year-old contract employee died because fumigation in Chennai. 4-year-old dies inhaling toxic fumes in Thane. And pest control, post-pest control, retired banker couple suffocates to death in Pune. These are actual cases happening. It's not fabricated. This doesn't come on your front page, unfortunately, but these are cases which are happening on a regular basis. You have to be aware of it. So when you ask somebody to come into your apartment, association, your house, you need to know what they're doing. You just can't leave it that they come do something and go. These are the minimum documents, very basic. There's nothing too much to ask for. Basic documents. The first document is an insecticide license issued by Government of Karnataka. That license says you are entitled to carry out pest control treatments because ultimately these are toxic chemicals. You can't deny. The concentration might be less today as compared to 15 years ago, but they are still toxic chemicals. So that is the basic. Now, this is actual statistics given by Joint Director, Agriculture, 2 years back. The 3,500 companies running in Bangalore as pest controllers, licensed 250. Second certificate is an IPCA certificate. It's the private organization, 55-year-old association, which governs the standards, chemical techniques used in pest control industry. We also, because I'm the general secretary for that association currently for this year, we go in hand with the government of India in guiding them what chemicals are approved, which is to be banned, which has to be phased out. Most of them were carcinogenic. Okay, now next level, when the vendor is already in, he comes to start the work. The first thing he needs to do, give you an MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet. Material Safety Data Sheet basically explains you what is the chemical he is using. Why? Because tomorrow something happens, a child consumes it, or something happens. What is the first aid to be done? That needs to be known. Next, what is the toxicity level of that chemical? Needs to be known. Yes, ultimately, as I said, it is toxic chemical. It needs to be stored separately. Now coming to an important aspect for as a resident association, what onus do we have? What responsibilities do we have when we engage a pest controller? In terms of an estate manager, let's say, maintenance or a housekeeping staff, resident, or a PMP, which is a pest management professional. So let's come to the role of a property manager. Now, you all might be in a stage of forming an association or existing association. So the property manager's role is develop and enforce policies and procedures with staff and residents. Second, notify residents of PMP visit in advance. Encourage reporting systems for residents and staff. Now, in that case, 5 minutes, yeah, 5 minutes I'm over. Yeah, so reporting systems. Now, let's say example, you invite me for carrying out pest control in your residence. Example, you call me, I come in. I'm an expert in pest control. I know exactly what to treat. I know the equipment, everything. Do I know your house? Do I know where is the infestation? Do I know where is your ant problem happening or cockroach problem happening? We don't know. You know your house. So you have to communicate. You have to tell us. You have to inform us. So that is your estate manager has to, because it's a common area, estate manager is responsible to inform us what exactly it is. Monitoring and maintaining facilities, identifying problem, basically which pest it is, and assistance whenever, as and when required if there is a resident having an issue. Coming to your maintenance and housekeeping staff, eliminate leakage, as I said, leakage, dampness, pests. Install barriers at entry points wherever required, common area cleaning and monitoring of pest and report problems. Because monitoring and informing the PMP or the pest management professional what is the issue. All right, I take it next is onus on the resident. The resident, the onus on the roles of the resident. Educate yourself of different pests present in your apartment complex. You might not have any of these major pests which I said. You might have, let's say, honeybee. So what is the solution? So accordingly, based on what your problem is, you need to address that. Your basic housekeeping, sanitization, and removal of waste needs to be done. Now, for those people who are sitting here, a free piece of advice. You want to reduce your house, inside the house pest problems by 20%, just do two things. At the end of the day, after the dinner is done, just wipe the slab. Very simple thing. Wipe it. I know it will be clean if you don't wipe it also, but then there will be some droplets or some spillage which happens on the slab. Just clean it once, you see the difference. Second point, number 2 is your waste at the end of the night. Make sure you tie it up and, if possible, outside the house. You might have a drying area separately, not outside the door, because as per your apartment policy you have to follow, but then outside the house, not in the kitchen. You reduce your pest problems already. Reporting pests. Yeah, preparing for your PMP to come based on whatever they are coming to execute, and the PMP, the pest controller, she needs to inform you the do's and don'ts pre and post the service. Next. Yeah. Roles of pest management professional: communicate with staff and residents, identify the problem, recommend alternate approaches, not single approach. Chemical approach might not be always the right answer. Monitor your pest, apply safest pesticides. Again, use the right chemical for right treatment. Don't unnecessarily bombard your house, your apartment complexes with chemicals which is not required. Documents, observation, pesticide usage and suggestions, and monitor catchment record and trend analysis, which I explained you earlier. Next. So the last overall result of what you're looking at as a consolidated result for the entire exercise is an inspection and monitoring system that finds pests. Point number 2, reporting systems that identifies areas of improvement. Unit that will prepare to get a least toxic treatment. Communication that empowers all, and fewer pests and a happier environment. I think that's it. Next. Thank you. That's it. Thanks a lot.
So, question and answers. Yeah.
Any questions regarding any of this? Oh, there you go. So, okay, coming to green chemicals or herbal chemicals, a new trend everyone wants to know. My personal experience, there is no 100% herbal at all. There is least amount of composition. Let me give you an example. Nowadays, everybody comes with a gel application in your kitchen. What is gel? It's 0.05% fipronil. 0.05. It's a very low concentration, but still that percentage of chemical is there. That is mixed with, might be atta, anything, dry fish, multiple things which is happening. But then still a very low composition
Sure.
of pesticides still applicable there. So I would not say 100% green, and whatever 100% green, we have not seen that efficacy rate. But yes, eventually we are moving to that. Sir, let me explain you two things. Fumigation is a different process. Fogging is a different fogging. So if you're talking about fogging, yeah, fogging technically should not be done in closed areas. It should be only open, because my PPT very clearly mentioned open space spray. So it can't be done for an internal area. It has to be done for an open external area.
So what is this cold fogging? Is it only water is it or any chemical?
No,
there?
it's a mist machine. It's a big bulky machine where you mix the chemical with water. The droplet size is less than 25 microns. It sits on the surfaces. When the mosquito comes and sits, it will
But
die.
it is not. It is child friendly, because if when you're asking,
Absolutely child friendly for any. Far better than diesel fogging, which uses diesel and you are polluting the environment.
okay, what about your advice on pigeons? I know it's becoming really a
Yes.
menace for everybody. So it's a temporary solution. We have tried everything, but it's not happening.
Sir, if it's done properly, normally balconies and windows can be addressed by netting. If it's a parapet with netting can't be done, you can do spikes. But other than that, there are gel application I don't recommend, because it almost kills the pigeon, so we don't recommend that. But there are techniques, but we recommend these two, bird netting and spikes, which can be addressed. You can guide us through to your apartment. We give you free consultation if required.
you.
Yes.
No, we
I wanted
understand.
to mention that, but then don't want to get into complications. Many people do
Yeah,
feed them,
first
which
point
leads
is
to.
that, feeding. We know that, but still, if there is any.
No, these are the only techniques available right now, bird netting and spikes.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Is there any method that whether they have done the treatment or not during the pre-construction, we can check after the post-construction?
No, technically they are supposed to give you a stamp paper certificate saying that 10 years guarantee for against termite control.
Except that any option that we can check
You
after?
can't check. You can't check. And if it's within, see, the easiest way to check is within that 10 years, if there is an infestation come, you have to go back to the vendor who did it. Ask them to rectify the issue.
There are some members who are saying that marigold plants or some plants which basically harm the mosquitoes. Is that true or
Not scientifically proven.
not scientifically?
Spraying of appropriate chemical, I will not mention specifically, because again, every vendor uses a different chemical, but there are good products in the market, especially the number ones are Bayer products. Bayer does very good products for fly control, also used for most of the food processing unit, including KMF and milk dairies and all are using those products. They're very effective. Yes, UV light is effective because it comes and attracts that, but then sometimes the dumping area is quite outside, so you might not have an access there. So I take it we close it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And thank you, Nimati team, for having us. Thank you.
So thank you for the wonderful insight on the pest control. I request Mr. Sanju to hand over the memento to. So thank you, sir.